Steph Hodge with BoardGameGeek here with Dylan Bertolo and Thomas Gofton of Lynnvander Studios. And today we get to look at Evil Dead 2.
Yes.
Yes. And so, tell me a little bit about this. Was there a 1?
Well,
There was no one.
not for board games, no. I
Okay.
mean, so Evil Dead 2 is based on the movie.
So I haven't seen it because it's too scary for me.
Really?
Scared? No, it's like a comedy classic.
Oh, I don't
Bruce Campbell, Army of Darkness,
Yeah.
the ones before that. Yes.
I mean,
Oh, maybe I gotta go look at it.
I mean, it's kind of
Yeah, I
like
think
funny
so.
scary. It's scary. I mean, it's scary for the
I
time.
would have nightmares either way.
There's one.
Totally fair. There are some really scary things in it, but
There's
it's
also
hilarious.
Some really
It's
funny.
hilarious.
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic.
They knew what they were doing.
So
But-
this is based off of that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
So-
So you want to talk about the game itself, or do you want me? So this is the
The
first
overview.
time.
How'd you get the
everyone's-
idea?
So first thing is that this is the first time anyone's seeing any of this.
Oh, okay.
Really, like at this level of capacity, including the lovely artwork from Josh Dirksen of our team.
Excellent.
This is like a first time exposure. There's a long story behind this. Maybe I'll break
Well,
that up.
I think you should tell a short version of that story, and then I'll start
to make
talking
a long
about the game.
story even longer, what happened was, so this was kickstarted a while back, and the Kickstarter, unfortunately, even though it was funded, something went wrong, and the game
Okay.
went awry.
All right.
We came along with Jasco Games and the licensor. We kind of decided to altruistically work together to revive and resurrect it, and we are now at a stage where all of us put in the effort for free to rebuild the game, and we're trying to do what's called a Heartthrob Kickstarter, that if the Kickstarter funds and succeeds,
Yeah.
all of the previous backers, which are thousands, will all get their game.
Wow. Nice.
And we've revamped and redesigned the whole thing.
They don't have to back it
and they don't
to
have
get
to
their
back
game.
it. It's other backers that are backing it, and all of the profit margins and royalties and everything are going to go toward back paying the cost of goods to refresh the game and save them from the previous campaign. So
That's
it's
good.
it's
That's
quite a
nice.
long story to get there, but we've been very quiet on showing what's happened to the game, what it looks like, because we've had to in terms of
Yeah,
like
you wanna make
licensing
it
and
the best you
discussions.
can.
But everything's approved now. The campaign is set to go any day now. We don't know when.
Woo.
And now, for the first time, we're actually showing the prototype to everybody in its entirety.
And one of the biggest things about this is that this is not connected to the old game at all.
Not at all.
Oh,
Like
okay.
we
Totally
completely,
different.
like we're a different studio. We completely redesigned the game from the ground up.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
pretty much the only thing we kept was the sculpts.
The sculpts, yeah. The licensor came in. They were like, they thought this was a great idea. The publisher Jasco jumped in. This is like everyone's like, let's do it. So and here
So-
it is. This is the
Awesome.
reveal
And
of the
this
prototype.
is the absolute beautiful board. I would like to point out there's one thing that's very important.
Yes.
That Josh went through the movie frame by frame to make sure that everything that's in the movie is on the board. That the cabin is
awesome.
laid out exactly, the pieces of furniture, the food in the dishes, all of that is exactly like the movie.
Even the shot.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Everything, yeah.
I wonder how many times you had to watch it, but
I don't
that's a
want to
question
ask
for
that
him.
question.
I want to.
And we worked really hard to make the flavor and theme of the
Yeah.
there you go. The flavor and theme as accurate to what it would be like to be an Evil Dead fan and to experience the Evil Dead culture. And so Dylan, since he's pimping out Josh, now it's my turn to pimp out Dylan. Dylan crushed the development cycle on this in a way that math made sense, and bang, now we've got what we have here.
So, in the game, for those who aren't familiar with Evil Dead, they have Deadites, which are more or less like zombies.
Okay.
But they're not actually zombies. They run real fast and they're kind of crazy. And in the lore, some of them can actually pass for human.
Okay.
So to mirror that, what we did was we have these corruption cards,
Okay.
which over the course of the game get dealt out, and some of them will say Deadite, and some of them will say human.
I see.
As long as all of your corruption cards say human, you're a human.
Uh-oh.
But the moment one of them says Deadite, you become a Deadite.
And the majority of those cards are human,
Yes,
Yeah.
by far.
by far.
There's actually only a small handful, like 3 or 4, depending upon number of players.
Can you win as a Deadite?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it changes if you turn Deadite, it changes your victory condition
Of
because you
course.
now want to open the portal and end the game. And the more
Exactly.
people that become Deadites, the more the game kind of skews from like we were all the same team, and now we're all not, and it's hidden, so no one actually knows who's who half the time.
Exactly. So
Until you
your
choose
role
to
is probably
reveal it.
might change.
Oh.
So up here, we have these tracks, which wind up getting filled up with pages of the Necronomicon. See if you can find a page.
There's a page.
Ah, first track.
There's a couple pages.
So when you find pages of the Necronomicon, you can dedicate them towards trying to seal the portal or trying to open it. So you could actually be trying to seal it, and then when you become a Deadite, you're like, oh, now I'm trying to open it.
I see.
And
but then
so,
people might know what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
At any point in the game, you can flip over your card and say, I'm a Deadite, because then the rules change.
Okay.
So we have all of these Deadite figures that are going to be running around the map, trying to attack you, drag you down,
Okay.
making your life more difficult. As soon as you reveal yourself as a Deadite, they're like, oh, you're one of us. And they leave you alone.
Good.
And they actually work with you. So now you've got this whole army of darkness? No, not yet.
Not yet, not yet.
Different
but
license,
soon.
different license, sorry. So you got this whole army that's working with you.
And you can use them to your advantage to slow down the players, to basically try to make sure that you win.
Okay.
And so it's a really interesting mechanic because of the fact that you're always hedging your bets.
Yeah.
But once you decide to flip that switch, you all of a sudden have a lot more power and resources at your disposal.
So basically, you're trying to move around the board, discover these tiles to try and
Correct.
move and manipulate the track.
To try and get
Yes.
pages, to put the pages in one side or the
I
other.
got it pretty
And if
good.
you've collected them all and you're like, okay, I'm going to go bring them over here and suddenly become a Deadite, you might, when you get there, just, oh, I'm kidding, and then put them on the other side of the board. And so it's quite the deduction game as well as the like crazy mayhem, like how much area control, like mayhem.
How do you get more of these cards?
Well, and see, that's the thing.
Oh,
It's a
good question.
great question because carrying the pages is dangerous. Getting
Yeah.
attacked by Deadites is dangerous. Anytime these things happen, you might have to make a virtue check because the pages are evil. The book is evil.
Yeah.
Just carrying them can turn you evil.
So next time I pick one up, I might be human, but now I'm a Deadite if I draw the wrong cards.
Yes. Because, well, the characters have a virtue score.
Oh, okay. Here's the character
And we got
cards.
these are the characters from the you choose from. We picked all the major
So
characters.
these are all the guys.
We have a nice original art too, done by
Correct.
Stephen Delshaw.
So,
go.
but like, for example, like Ash, he's really healthy and fights really well, but his virtue is 1. He's very easy to corrupt, okay? So, and then like there's other characters that have much higher virtue, they're harder to corrupt.
Yes.
And that doesn't determine whether or not you become a Deadite, but that determines whether or not you get corruption cards.
I see.
And obviously the more cards you get,
The more
likely.
likely. Yeah. If you're picking up all those cards, I'm gonna be like, you can't take that page.
Right. And so that's kind of how the game works. And we have like different items that do different things.
You can discard them to do stuff like holy water, and you get running shoes to run faster, flashlights to help figure out where things are.
Okay.
There's
Basically-
a lot of the zombie tropes that are in there. Like we've got barricades where you can barricade up the door and the zombies will sit there and claw
Try and
at
claw
it
at
and
it.
things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
It's got some dice throwing in there. You've got a lot of models. These are just some 3D samples that we got on here.
Sure.
So there's going to be the characters get models, lots of Deadites. It's going to be like just littered with Deadite models. You've got the monsters, the big bad guys that are coming in. These are sort of like the bosses.
And
they
that's-
spawn and do some crazy stuff.
And that's something that we definitely want to point out there for the fan service. Can you hand me those 4 cards over there?
There we go.
So we have 4 bosses in the game that, if you're familiar with the movie, are very, very appropriate. Because, for example, Ash, his hand goes bad, he cuts it off and it scuttles around and causes a bunch of problems. We have a hand monster.
Yeah.
So we also, for the fans,
Oh my gosh.
have a Henrietta monster, a
Nice.
killer tree,
And
and
Applehead.
the rotten apple head, which is actually 3 different minis that
See,
show
it's kind
up.
of funny, right? It's
That
silly.
is
It's
very
silly.
funny.
So that's the gist of the game. It's going to
Check
come with
that out.
a ton of minis,
cute.
ton of
I love
cards. The value is we're putting a little bit more. So the previous Kickstarter, of course, had a bunch of stretch goals and stuff. Were almost impossible to fulfill. But we're trying to make this game as packed as possible with the materials and stuff that came from the previous games. We're keeping it in the same vein, but we've changed it around enough to make it real. This is a work in progress box. The actual box, I believe will be Necronomicon as a sleeve, and this will be a little more filtered out. This is all just a sample of the game.
Sure.
So you can see it's not a manufacturer proof. This is our in-house demo in order to
Prototype,
show
yeah.
the world for the first time what Evil Dead 2 is all about.
Well, that's awesome. And so, briefly, what do you think the Kickstarter price point might be? How many people? How long is a game?
Yeah, so normal Kickstarters are like anywhere between 10,000 and 80,000, maybe 100,000, depending on how much models and miniatures we need to do.
No,
This
I
one
mean
here-
like per backer. Like if I
Like
wanted
how
to go
much do you
back
need
it.
to back it to get the game?
I think the tier is going to be between 40 and 80, based
Okay,
on
depending
what
on what
you're
they're
getting.
wanting, yep.
And all of the profit that goes from that is going directly toward previous fulfillment. So if we hit the goal, everybody, new backers and previous backers, will all get fulfilled.
Yep.
Excellent.
We just got to hit the goal. It's going to be a bit high because we got to manufacture a lot, but
Perfect.
bang.
Which means the most important thing to do is that even if you back the previous one and you're like, oh, I don't need to back this one to get it, is spread the word. Make sure other people back it, because that's
Then
the
you can
only
get it,
way
yeah.
that you're going to be able to get the copy.
Right.
Perfect.
Cool. So that's Evil Dead 2.
2.
Yeah,
Here we go.
we're excited.
Thanks, guys.